Hey, how's it going, Crows? Today I want to talk about the difference between a remake and a remaster. And the reason why I wanted to talk about this is because just recently, about 2 days ago, I was playing Black Desert Online, and in the chat there was people talking about Skyrim and how they were just so stoked for the Skyrim remake. Now, for those of you who are educated, you'll know that Skyrim is not a remake, it is a remastered version of the original game. So it's a Skyrim remaster, not a Skyrim remake. And for those of you who aren't educated, I'm gonna quickly break down the difference between a remaster and a remake. So a remaster is when they take the game and they just make it look prettier, pretty much, if you want to put it simply. So like the freaking Grim Fandango, that game recently got a remastered. It went from looking like this to freaking this. The Secret of Monkey Island went from looking like this to this. But again, these are remasters, not remakes. The new Final Fantasy VII Remake that's coming out is a remake because they changed everything. Well, except maybe the story. Stories can stay the same in a remake and they'll be fine. But they changed the way the gameplay flows from going to turn-based to a more action like Final Fantasy XIV. That's when it becomes a remake, is when you change something so big like that. That's when it becomes a remake. Now there's another freaking thing that you can add into the pool of remasters and remakes, and that's reboots. A reboot is when you take a game franchise like Mario and then you reboot it again from the ground up. An excellent example of the reboot franchises would be Tomb Raider. The original Tomb Raider games looked like this and Lara Croft looked like this, and the new Tomb Raider games look like this and Lara Croft is like this. So yeah, obviously this is a reboot. Why? Because they changed the gameplay and the story. A remake is when they change the gameplay, but they're still the story, you know? And the reason why it's a reboot is because they used the same character name. If they didn't call it Tomb Raider and they called it something like, I don't freaking know, Cliff Climber 2016, then it wouldn't be a reboot, but it'd be a whole new franchise, right? Called Cliff Climber, even. That's such a stupid name. It would be called a Cliff Climber, not Tomb Raider, but because it's called Tomb Raider, that makes it a reboot. Now, another game we can look at is Persona 4 Golden. Now, some may argue that this is a remastered version of the Persona 4 game, but I like to argue that it's actually a remake, because they added a whole bunch of new dialogue options and changed some parts of it. That makes it a remake. Even if it's that small, it still makes it a remake because you're still changing something from the original. Now let's go back to Skyrim and why this is a remaster, not a remake. They are not changing anything in Skyrim. It's got the same UI. Well, maybe the UI looks different, but it's gonna play the same and it's gonna feel the same. The only difference is it's going to look different. It's the same story, same quest, same dialogue options. It just looks a little better. This makes it a remastered version of Skyrim, not a remake of Skyrim. Now I'm gonna rant about Skyrim Remastered for a minute and why I think it's good and also kind of bad.
Thought I was 12, but then I was 20. Thought I had no experience, but then I had...
Now when Bethesda announced that they were remastering Skyrim, everyone was like, and then when Bethesda announced the price tag for consoles, everyone was like,
no, God! No, God, please, no! No!
Now luckily, Bethesda's smart and they made it so that the PC players would get this for free if they had bought the Skyrim and all free DLC. And here's why this is smart. PC players already got to experience the high-definition graphics of Skyrim thanks to mods and ENBs, but console players never got to experience the high graphic quality, and that's why they're super stoked, and that's why Bethesda is able to charge them $60. But here's why I'm gonna go off a little bit. You cannot charge $60 for the same game that was made way back in 2011. It doesn't work that way, dude. It's the same game that everyone played way back then. The only difference is the graphics, and you're charging $60 for people to play the same game they played a couple of years ago. The way remasters can be done is you can remaster the game and then put it up for maybe $40 at max, but $60 is the price of a brand new game, and it's not It's not right, it's not worth it. That's really pathetic that they would announce it at $60, and I hope they drop the price down by the time they ended up releasing it, because $60 for a game that everyone's already played and are only buying it so that they could play it in glorious HD is really, really lame. So yeah, anyways, that's my little 2 cents for you about remakes, remasters, and reboots. I hope you learned something today. You probably didn't, but if you did, then congratulations, and I'll see you in the next one.